Isru Chag. But nonetheless, Dafka, because it's the, there's a minute the day after Rosh Hashanah, the day after Sukkot, or Yom Kippur, where you come to, you daven earlier for by a few minutes?
Yes, we did that, Yom Kippur.
Motzei Yom Kippur.
Yeah, we started 5 minutes earlier.
Right. I would just like to, maybe end 5 minutes later instead of starting 5 minutes earlier. I think that'd be cool. But it's the same thing with Shavuos. It's the morning after Shavuos. You have to run to this farm. Okay, before I forget, Yossi, can I have your phone? Rosh. There's a very famous Torah we have about this from the Dinover, the Bnei Yisachar, who always says that it's so important to lift up a Yid's head, because if you take the word Rosh and lift it up each by one letter, you get to the word Shabbos. Right? Reish becomes Shin, Aleph becomes Bet, and then Shin becomes Taf. Right? So Se'uas Rosh, when you lift up a Yid's head, that's what he feels on Shabbos, the lifting up of the head. It's beautiful teaching. In concerts, that takes me 20 minutes to give over, but right now it's right. There's a whole build-up and everything. That's me. What do you mean? No, that's why are you shocked? I tell you something cool. Look, where'd you get that from? the Bnei Yisachar, Rebbe Menachem of Dinov. He has it's a bunch of svarim. One of them is called Agra Dekala, and there's Beirish in the Torah there. That's over there he says that. In today's piece, what we're going to see is that we're connecting again to the Mala of Talmud Torah. It'll probably be very much connected also to how the Tanya develops the Mahalach of what happens to a person's mind when he's immersed in learning Torah. And very much in line with what we were learning yesterday regarding the relevance of learning Halacha today as well. There you go. The learning today, if we could continue it to be for the Refuah Shlema of Rivka Rachel Bas Tova. As you see in the top over here, this is a very me'ubad. Me'ubad means, they took the sichas of the Rebbe and they brought it down to a language that we could really understand. It could be mamash for our lashon. But this is one of the reasons, teaching like this is one of the reasons why I personally am so feel so lucky every time I learn any Torah from Lubavitch and connecting to the Rebbe. It's a big schus. So, Limud HaTorah yotzer etzel Yehudim matzav shel Nasso et Rosh. The topic of this Maimer is that learning Torah creates by a Jew a situation of lifting up of the head. Harosh mit'aleh. The head goes up. U'mitnaseh al yedei HaTorah b'midah she'ein lemala mimena. Now, usually, when you use the word umitnaseh in modern Hebrew, it means he's haughty. Umitnaseh, he lifts himself up over others. Here we're not speaking about a person choosing to make himself bigger. Here it's about a person that chooses to swim in the sea of Torah. What the Torah does to a person like that.
Ascend.
Huh?
Ascend.
To ascend, but not litfos matzmecha. It's not you that's doing it. Now you've seen this, and I'm sure you guys have seen this especially with the Chevra that learned the Lichter. I've seen it mamash in my face that the Torah is called Ayelet Ya'avim V'Ya'alat Chen. Rebbe Menachem says Shema'alach Chen An Lomdea. That when you're learning Torah, what's amazing is that it's Ma'alech Chen. It kind of takes a dose of Chen and smears it all over you. Literally your face starts looking different. You've seen certain people that when they're truly engaging, in learning, in real learning, there's something about them that just looks different. Sometimes, what's that? Their beards get longer? Yeah, that's what it is. But I'm trying to, like, I think maybe now it's not just that, it's not necessarily a physical appearance, other than just maybe that usually they hold their heads down in life, and that maybe they hold their heads higher, not haughty higher, but just more like the Torah takes you somewhere. What does this mean exactly? So look at the Rebbe says. Parashat Nasso nikret b'derech klal b'Shabbat she'la'achar Chag Matan Torah. We know that Nasso is kimat always the parsha that follows Shavuos. ואכן שמה של הפרשה מבטא את המעלה הנפלאה של לימוד התורה מקנה לאדם. The name of this parsha expresses the beautiful attribute that Torah acquires for man, which is what? Nasso. To lift up. מלשון להינשא למעלה. From the language, bring to be carried up above. אחרי שניתנה התורה לבני ישראל, הם הגיעו לנסו. After the Torah was given to us on Shavuos, so we reached a state as a people of Nasso. Literally, our heads were lifted up. It's amazing. Like, we went through the miracles in Egypt, but that still didn't create a new face or a new hitalut for Am Yisrael. We were just out of the mud, but we still didn't know what to do with ourselves. You get the Torah, you get to Matzav, like he says here, הם הגיעו לנסו להתרוממות ולהתעלות, to some kind of elevated state. Now, this is a beautiful teaching in the Gemara Pesachim. בגמרא מסופר שרב יוסף היה עורך סעודה חגיגית בחג השבועות. Rav Yosef was the one, he had a very special Yantiv meal on Shavuos, והיה אומר, אם לא היום הזה, if not for this day, כמה יוסף היו בשוק. How many Josephs would there be in the shuk? What does that mean? כפי שמפרש רש"י, שאם לא היום הזה, if it wasn't for this day, שבזכותו למדתי תורה ונתרוממתי, if it wasn't for this day, the day that gives me access to the Torah that I learn and that I become great, higher in, הרי אנשים הרבה בשוק ששמם יוסף, ומה ביני לבינם. I would just be like anyone else whose name was Yosef, who's walking around in the shuk, meaning the fact that my name is Rav Yosef, he's not putting it on himself. He's not saying, look what I did. He's saying, just by the mere fact that there's a Torah, look what happened. It would be like anything else, like anybody else. Like what differentiates us from the Yosefs and the shuk or whoever else in the shuk? What differentiates us from it?
Is that where the saying average Joe comes from?
What's that?
Is that where the saying average Joe comes from?
Oh, that's good. The average Joe, by Yosef. Right? I would just be you guys get that? That's pretty good. The average Joe. Where'd you come up with that one? Yeah, right on. He's fast. Yeah.
He's younger.
Yeah, but right. Meaning, we'd all be average Joes. We think about it. Like, we want to relate to people in the whole world, but we also know that there's something special about us. But you just want to walk around and say, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen. That really doesn't mean anything, the mindset in your life. But if you walk around saying, wow, I'm beginning to understand what this chosenness means, and it's through the Torah, then you could start to, understand that there's an inherent difference. Not difference, but there's something about us that we just can't put into words. We would just be like any average Joe, or average Shlomo, or average Ben, or whatever it is. Yes, you feel like an average, that's your name.
That's my name, but I don't feel average. First of all, it's a powerful name. And second of all, he's right. Meaning the fact is, I had a Shavuot yesterday that made me unique and different, as opposed to just being like anyone else.
Right. Yesterday was Wednesday in the world.
Is that right?
Yesterday was Wednesday, but it actually really wasn't. Meaning, yesterday was mamash an amazing, amazing day. What is it dependent on? So the Rebbe says like this: B'sha'at ma'amad al Sinai, mina HaKadosh Baruch Hu et kol bnei Yisrael mamlechet kohanim begoy kadosh. At the time of Har Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought down the concept of that you are a kingdom of a kohanim and a holy nation. Uvechach he'ela otam lema'ala elyon. That's what he means. That totally elevated us to this very high and exalted state. Romemut zu museget al yedei HaTorah. But whether we like it or not, that exalted state is museget. That means it's grasped It's like the hasik. What's that? What were you going to say?
Achieved.
It's achieved through the Torah. Meaning, we walk around saying, some of us might feel like I know I'm special because God chose me. I don't need to learn so much. But you have no idea what that chosenness is all about unless you immerse yourself in the study of Torah, because that is what kind of like brings you to God's decision. Like God decided, Atem tilu melechet banim v'goy kadosh. Whether you like it or not, that's in your potential. But you may never reach to understand what God had in mind unless you go into the Torah and learn. Just learn. Just before you figure out what to do with it, just immerse yourself in learning. Become a developed person. Become a person that enjoys the unknown and mevatel and nullifies his own da'at and see where it takes you. Romemut zu museget al yedei Torah. This exaltedness is, again, I'm trying to find the right word for it, is museget, is almost like chapt, like lahasig mashu. You only grasp it. You only grasp it intellectually and emotionally through the Torah, what God had in mind by Har Sinai. כשיהודי לומד תורה, היא גורמת לו להתרומם ולהתעלות מעל גדרי המציאות הארצית. We all know this. Through learning Torah, the Torah brings a person to exalt himself, to become elevated above the natural borders of nature. What do you think he means by that? The Torah can elevate a person to a state that seems to be me'al gidrei ha'metziut ha'artzit, above the way that we normally relate to the confines of nature, the borders of nature.
I think that most people, they're kind of working on their CV, working on their resume, working on their outside game, their career, their achievements, and that's the teva. And then when you learn Torah, it's like, that outside game is just not really what this world is about. We're really working on an inside game. And then I'm become out that whole mitzvah.
So it doesn't mean, right, so he's not referring here to saying, when you learn Torah, you can start flying, and that's against nature.
Right, I don't think so.
No, right, no, but that's how we usually like to, when you learn Torah, you get superpowers. Not that you get superpowers. It's that, I guess it does take superpowers to look at the teva of this world and realize that's not what I want to spend my life worrying about. That is going beyond your nature. Very good. But it's not it's not like wings to physically fly, or anything that's above and beyond the confines of human nature in terms of physical powers.
In a way, you can exceed your own potential. You got a limit of how great you're going to be, but through Torah, then there's no limit anymore. There's no limit of how much you can achieve in that realm.
Right.
And any other realm is predetermined, but that itself is limitless.
Right. Ein Sof. Nachon. Question is, how do you do that? Isn't that beautiful, what we all just said right now? That's so beautiful. Doesn't everyone feel good right now? Should we just go home? Okay. You're still here and I'm still here, so let's figure this out. המעלה המיוחדת של לימוד התורה, in the fourth paragraph, אפילו לגבי קיום המצוות, what's so great about learning Torah, even greater on a certain level than just doing mitzvahs, or different than just doing the mitzvahs, היא בכך שעל ידי לימוד התורה, that through learning Torah, נוצרת התאחדות גמורה, there's a complete התאחדות, what's that? A combining, it's fine.
Unification.
A unification, a unifying, between what? Ben sichlo shel ha'adam, between man's cup, between man's brain, levin chokhmat Hashem hamelubeshet b'Torah, to God's chokhmah that's enclosed within the Torah. This is what we were talking about yesterday in the shiurs, that when I'm learning, what's happening to my mind is becoming one, so to speak, it's becoming hitachdut, becomes unified with the chokhmah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God's wisdom. What does that mean? Throw yourself into a sugya in Gemara, Beitza shenoda b'yom tov. Anyone ever learned Masechet Beitza before? Beitza shenoda b'yom tov. So take any sugya regarding the all the different things that have to do with Yontiv, with Kedushas Chag. Or go to Moed Katan and immerse yourself in a sugya that has to do with the laws of Avelut, that it shows up in Moed Katan, or in Kiddushin, with marriage, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, right? He's saying over here, what happens to you when you throw your mind into the back and forth of the Tanaim and the Amoraim, and the Psaks, and everything that comes with it? you're completely immersed. Your mind becomes me'uchad, one with the Chokhmah v'Kadosh Baruch Hu that's enclosed in those words that you're learning. That'd be can you imagine that? Can you imagine that's what's happening to our minds while we're learning Torah? Like what else? What other dugma can we give that our minds are becoming unified with something else? Usually it's in a very bad way. Like Rebbe Menachem speaks about this also. When you hear a nagan halok kasher, when you hear a musician who's not a kosher musician, whatever that means for now, right? We all know that musicians and their expressions of their soul, which we think are so, it's so holy because it's so real, sometimes they're coming from the darkest places in the world. And what happens to our minds and their minds through the power of their music? They mamish take over us. And we think about them all day long. And we're mesmerized by them, and all we think is, if only I could sit down and meet with them. Or whatever it is, that this is how, celebrities, destruction of the world, mamish. That's what happens to our minds when we're completely melubash with their chokhmah, whatever that means. Imagine choosing to use your mind for it to be wrapped up with Hashem's chokhmah. That's Talmud Torah. That's a mikvah of the mind. That's Talmud Torah. The Rebbe says in another place that the more that you think Hashem thoughts, the more space you have for more thoughts to come in. It's marchiv the da'at. The more you think thoughts that are destructive thoughts, the less space you have to think, and the more of a mitzrayim you're creating into your life. Torah is what makes it bigger, what makes this place that sometimes, what does it mean to be suffocated from thoughts, from the chit-chat? It's not that, you don't have a lot of thoughts. That you have a lot of thoughts, but it's all confined. It doesn't have any place to grow. The Chokhmah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Ein Sof. So if I'm tapping into wisdom, which is eternal, and that's what I'm tapping into in my mind, my ability to think, and to think bigger, grows as well. And that's the mila of learning Torah. He's saying before you even did a mitzvah, you're just learning the Torah, the Chokhmah of Hashem. You haven't learned anything. You haven't done anything with it. You're just tapped into the learning aspect of it. When the seichel of a man understands how the Torah thinks, like the process, the whole Mesorah, when more we learn, we understand how things develop in Talmud Torah. There's a complete blending between the human mind and God's wisdom. It's this thing. This elevates man to the highest level possible. Are we good with this? No questions on this? It's very simple?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about learning architecture, learning science, so you start to understand the way the world works, but when you're talking about morality and kedusha, then your mind starts to delve into that world. And the more we meet to seg kedusha, the more like kadosh our thoughts and minds.
So what happens to your mind when you realize this? What happens to you?
It's like a mitzvah or a mitzvah kind of thing.
Right.
Like the more we think of it, the more we become that.
The more we're becoming. Well, what happens to us on a chosenness level, the more that we realize that our minds are basically becoming one with the Chokhmah of Hashem? What do you think happens to a person?
You want it more.
You want it much more. You see, we always talk about ratzon. How do I create ratzon? People think you have to go to a forest for 24 hours and just scream, I want. And Hashem is saying, didn't I give you exactly what you need in order to develop more of a ratzon? You're right. That's probably why we say that Talmud Torah keneget kulam, meaning that more than anything is going to bring out from you ratzon, desire. What do you want to say, David?
On the shirim that I learned out overnight at Shlomo was talking about the idea that we're in utero, we're all taught the Torah, and then right before it's taken, the memory of it is wiped from us.
Right.
But the shir was a little weird because it kind of ended. I don't know where this is going, but I feel like you're starting to answer some of the questions that were in the shir as to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hear you say this over, maybe there's some feeling of
you're connecting back to this time in life where you were really like, we don't remember being in the womb, but in some ways we're all kind of trying to get back there, and this is a way to connect back to a time where we actually had it all and we knew it all, and now we spend our whole life, and through the study of Torah we're making that connection back to a really real place.
Amen.
Limitless potential.
What's that? A place of limitless potential. Yeah, that which is what a baby feels in the womb. Absolutely. Yeah.
This just reminded me of a story. I have a tzaddik, Tom Kaufman friend in the English one. You met him at the university. Teaches it. Anyway, so I went to go meet him the other day. He was in Yerushalayim, and he said he's at a hardware store, which is like not his forte. And I said, okay, I'll meet you. I'll pick you up. And I said, what's going on? He said a couple gave him a picture, a painting a few months ago, and it's been sitting around. He never put it up. And now they're coming for Shabbos, so he had to like get the items to go ahead and put it up. And I just asked him about it, and he just said so naturally, he goes, oh, it's like, he said it's like Matan Torah with Har Kigigi. Like, is it Har Kigigi, or like did the Jews want the Torah, or is it Nasso v'Nishma? So like most things I seem to say is really both, meaning the Ratzon was always there, Nasso v'Nishma, but sometimes you need that extra push to go ahead and to do it. And so he he wanted to hang the picture up, but he needed that extra push of the pressure of them coming. But the way he said it was so naturally and Torah.
So
I'm sitting there with my mouth open. This guy, this is living Torah on the most mundane level, but something so holy.
Because then everything, when you're living Torah, then everything like that, which none of us would, I would never think of it as like an opportunity to experience, Matan Torah. Everything becomes an opportunity to go to look at life through that. Yeah, that's Ein Sof. That's creating mamish Ein Sof in your thoughts. It just reminded me, I actually have to do that to someone that's coming to visit. I do. Someone. It's a long story. I'm not going to say it now because they might be listening, but I do have to do that. That's good. רוממות זו, this exaltedness, שמושגת על ידי התורה, נובעת מהקשר המהותי בין יהודי לבין הקדוש ברוך הוא. This exaltedness, which is grasped through the Torah, נובעת מהקשר המהותי בין יהודי לבין הקדוש ברוך הוא. This is the kesher that God has with us. When we say אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, when we say ובנו בחרת מכל עם בלשון, what are we talking about? You like us more? You like us more? I was watching, someone sent me an interview of Matis. They did just the other day, and I have to call him. I got to call him because there's something that was a little bit off with the concept. He had this question about Bechira, like chosenness. Are we the chosen people or not? What does that mean? And he got so turned off by so many different answers by rabbis that he said it. He came to the conclusion that he thinks it's shtuyot. That there's no such thing as Bechira. But that's because when you look at it, he's right. Meaning when you look at it in the level of, well, God chose me, so nothing you could do about it, that's going to turn you, even if it's right, that'll turn off anybody.
You said in response that we're chosen to spread the Torah.
The chosenness.
The chosenness of spreading the ways of Hashem.
But the only way you could do that is by understanding why God chose us. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, not v'natan lanu et Torato. He chose us from all the people, and he also decided to give us his Torah. No. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. Why? So that he could give us v'natan lanu et Torato. It becomes real. The Bechira becomes real through the Torah. You want to know, God, what do you want from me? The only way to realize what God wants from you is through the learning, is through Talmud Torah, which really does develop a ratzon, a hunger for wanting more. Kshiudi lomed Torah, when a Jew learns Torah, ein ze stam limud v'havana shel sugya. You're not just trying to develop your academic skills of, like people say, like when you're in law school, I heard this quite often, that people tell students of law that they should learn Gemara, because the way the mind is developed through learning law is very much kashur to the way sugyas have been developed as well. That's not why we learn it. It's a connection between two essences that are connected within each other. Nishmato shel Yehudi, like the Tanya says, he chelek eloka mima'al mamash. A neshama of a Jew is a godly part from above, mamash. So the fact that I have a chelek Elokam mamash, the fact that I have a godly spark within me means nothing unless I plug it into its charger. It means nothing. I could have the best phone in the world. If I'm not charging it, it does nothing for me. Lahavdil, my neshama, is really something so precious and valuable. But if it's not plugged into what gives it koach, it's almost nothing. It almost means nothing. Torah is this bridge which connects this godly soul to Hashem. Lachen, therefore, לימוד התורה יוצר אצל יהודי מצב של נשוא את הראש. Therefore, learning Torah creates by a Jew a matzav, a situation of נשוא את ראש, of lifting up the head. דווקא the ראש, why? שהוא החלק העליון והחשוב ביותר באיברי האדם, which is the most important piece of the human body. מתעלה ומתנשא על ידי התורה במידה שאין למעלה ממנה. That's what causes your head. What does it mean, your head? Not to walk around like this, but it causes your thoughts to become infinite, to become endless, to be connected to something so much greater than the way that worldly things usually cause us to think. בכך מתעלה יהודי למעלה מגדרי העולם. This is how a Jew ascends beyond the confines of this world. עד שהגבלות העולם אינן מגבילות אותו. Until really, that which usually puts people into constraints does not put you into constraints. What are we talking about specifically right now? Obviously, Parnasa is one of the big ones. As much as we think that, it is important, you have to make sure that we always work and try to have Parnasa. When you're living a life of Torah, then the way you view Parnasa is completely different as well. The way you view it, the importance of it, and not just the importance of it, but how much does it tofes etzlecha, how much that it takes up in your mind is different. Okay, so Shevet Levi, we're ending over here. Zo ha'italut shel matan Torah k'shei la'atzma. This is what Matan Torah gives you on its own, just by receiving of the Torah and learning it. That was Shavuos, but acharei ze ba parshat Nasso. Parshat Nasso comes right afterwards. Umadgisha hebet nosaf bahitalut shenotzra al yedei matan Torah. And it emphasizes another way of looking at this hitalut, at this elevation, which was created by Matan Torah. Nosaf al hitalut shel kol Yehudi, more than just the elevation of every single Jew. Mikoach heyoto chelek mimalchet kohanim begoy kadosh. Above just the mere fact that I'm part of this kingdom of Kohanim and a holy nation, ba hadgasha nosefet al nesiat rosh shel kol bnei Levi. All the tribes from the tribe of Levi, everyone had a hadgasha. You have to lift up your head. Why? What's so special about Shevet Levi? V'arei yadua. It says in the Rambam, shekol mi shenadva rucho oto והבינו מדעו להיבדל לעמוד לפני השם לשרתו ולעבדו. Anyone that his spirit has led him to a place that he wants to serve Hashem out of his own bechira, hu b'dargat Shevet Levi. That's the aspect, that's the level of Shevet Levi, and I saw this in the Rambam inside. Himamish says this meforash. You were considered, not that you're actually considered, you become a Levi, but the way that Hashem looks at you, you are mamish spiritually part of Shevet Levi when your Talmud Torah has led you to a place that said, due to my hitalut of my moach, of my mind, I want to serve you, Hashem. I want to be part of this, out of my choice, after my learning. This is what I want to do. לכן כשיהודי אינו מסתפק בקדושה ובהתעלות הבסיסית שלו, כחלק ממלכת כהנים. Therefore, when a Jew he's not mistapek. Mistapek means
satisfied.
Thank you. He's not satisfied with God chose me. God chose me. When that doesn't satisfy me anymore, but I want to understand why God chose me, that's really what it's all about. That is mamish what it's all about. When I'm not satisfied that God just chose me, but that I want to understand what God had in mind when He chose me, and you say, Ani makdish et atzmo lelimut Torah, so I dedicate my life trying to understand what did you have in mind when you chose me. That means immersing yourself in the life of Torah. Imagine if we had a mission statement, open the yeshiva, and the mission statement was, we are dedicating our lives to understand what God had in mind at Mount Sinai. Come learn with us. No one would come. Why? They'd be completely freaked out by such a mission statement. However, why else are you learning Torah? Why else are you learning Torah? Because you enjoy it? Because you like what it does to your mind? Because you enjoy the way you think from it? It's mamish making Torah as an academic culture. And it's such a dangerous thing. Torah is for us to understand Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. And halavai, we shouldn't be satisfied with just being chosen. Not to be satisfied with that. But when you do that, so what are you privileged? What do you merit? Hu zocher lenesiut rosh nosefet. You're elevated that your mind goes even. You get another exaltedness of the mind. Ulehitachdut gmura im HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a complete unification with God. Sheken az, because what happens then when you say, I'm dedicating my life to try to understand what God had in mind when He chose me? He says, what happens then? Choderet Torat Hashem lesichlo. The Torah of Hashem infiltrates, I would say, right? Chadira. Penetrates into his seichel, into your own seichel. Until what? Ad shesichlo na'asa seichel shel Torah v'shel chokhmat Hashem. Until your seichel, you start talking to, your seichel becomes like Yossi just explained to us, but that guy that's looking at a thing like, putting up a picture, framing a picture, but the way you think becomes just the Torah way of thinking all the time. נעשה שכל של תורה ושל חוכמת השם. ובכך מתעלה האדם להתקשרות עצומה עם האלוקות והקדושה. And there, man elevates himself to an incredible התקשרות, connecting with godliness and with holiness. ואז הוא עומד למעלה מהעולם וממגבלותיו. And then he stands way up, high above all the confines of this world, because the constraints of this world, they're nothing on him. They're mamish nothing on him. So the question that I had about this piece was, do you think that this, learning something like this piece, is what he's referring to? Yes? Why do you think so?
Because for me it's like reorganizing my priorities. What am I wasting my time thinking of? I'm going to be thinking about something. So am I going to be thinking about my parnasa? Am I going to be thinking about my bills? Am I going to be thinking about actually like living a life of kedusha? And the more we learn Torah, then the more that just becomes us. So this is like mamash chizuk, to think more about kedusha.
But isn't he saying here that the only way you could have this thought process that you described now is by then saying, okay, this is telling me what learning does to me, but is this learning? Is this itself learning, considered learning Torah? But you hear my question though? Do you hear what I'm trying to say?
Is only
Shakla and Tarya?
right. Is only going.
I'm wondering, I'm asking what we think.
Just like the back
If he's saying the point is of the learning is to build more ruts, and this is building ruts, and I don't know if it's the exact same, but it's definitely along the
It's part of it, right, right. But I don't think it's the whole thing.
No, there has to be
Right.
a certain...
Meaning, if someone asks you, so are you learning Torah? I say, yeah, I go to a chabura.
Yeah, but this is crucial, very crucial.
No, I'm not.
Without
Absolutely.
learning this, you
No.
learn Torah all day.
So in that
Absolutely.
because what he's saying is true, then it's yes. The answer is yes.
It's part of it, yeah.
But it's
Is
not
there anything that's all of it?
Yes, when it's both. Yeah,
You need a diversified portfolio.
yeah. When it's both. It's like, again, let's go back to the mission statement. In our yeshiva, we are dedicating our life to try to understand what God had in mind when He chose to give us the Torah. Okay, so what's your curriculum? Well, we just talk about Ratzon. That won't work. Or you say, well, we just talk about, Shosh and Nagach HaSapara. Well, that won't work either, because that's not really going to arouse Ratzon in you to see where God is speaking. The mamish needs to be a blend. There needs to be a blend. So this should give us the learning that we're doing in the morning here has to continue. Don't get me wrong, but it should lead us to a place of then taking on more limud of Torah, not because that's the right thing to do, but because that should be the natural evolution that should be the natural consequence of learning about the triggers of the heart, saying, okay, so where do I take all this passion? Where do I take all that? Oh, you mean there's a whole sea of Torah There's Rav Yosef, there's Tanakamas, there's Brises, there's Toseftas, all those things that, again, for us FFBs, those words drive it. I see your face right now. It's bringing you back to high school. I know it does it to me too, because I wish that someone in high school would have told us, we're learning Baba Kama right now, because and it's hard to tell this to a child, because through learning Baba Kama, when you daven, you'll understand Hashem more. This is the mile of. This is really how Talmud Torah can be really approached if we remember what it's all about. Mamash lechatchila. So in this piece, the Rebbe is saying to us, really, I really feel like this is mashlim each other. Like these sessions are crucial, absolutely, but it hopefully will lead us to then take on more learning of the stuff that's, not as outwardly inspiring, but more.
Requires a little bit of work.
Yeah. Listen, this requires work too, commitment to just showing up. Definitely, but then the work of commitment of using your brain is a whole nother parsha. That's a whole nother parsha. Alavah, Hashem should give us, Bezat Hashem, listen, we should daven over this. Hashem should give us a privilege, He should give us the opportunity to really take this ratzon and find, there should be a vessel for us to have more and more opportunities to swim in the Torah and of learning it, Bezat Hashem, and fulfilling it as well. Very good Shabbos.